obviously it's very scary, but at the same time, if we can see it maybe less as scary and more as exciting and go into it with a bit of optimism and going, well, I get a chance to do this exactly how I want it. So how do I want it to look? And you kind of get this opportunity to recreate yourself, your life, your experiences. And so I think when we look at it differently, it doesn't have to be so negative.
Hey, it's Renee. Welcome to the Into the Wild Show, the podcast for women who want to build incredible mental strength to level up their business and lifestyle. I'm Renee Warren, the founder of We Wild Women, author, speaker, award-winning entrepreneur, and your host. Together, we will make you unapologetic about shining your light, growing your business, and turning you into a wildly confident and successful leader. This is for you, the visionary, the go-getter, the entrepreneur, and for those that need a real kick in the butt to get going and to dream bigger. Each week, I bring in leading experts and entrepreneurs to help you take leaps in the right direction, because I know the best advice comes from someone who has successfully done it before. So, are you ready to level up? Welcome to Into the Wild. Hey, you wild women. My next guest is a Gottman-trained relationship and personal growth coach. She guides couples towards their own version of easy love through mastering the skills of communication, healthy conflict resolution, and connection. She also works with women looking to attract more love and abundance into their lives through facing fears, gaining authentic confidence, and letting go of their past. Please welcome the incredible Jaime Morgan.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, I know that listeners can't see this, but the background is so cool. It's like almost like a recording studio or some like band background. I don't know. It's very hippy dippy. I love it.
My husband inspired me. He's a high school teacher and his classroom is like covered from floor to ceiling, every wall in framed art, photos, anything. And so I was inspired because I put everything up that I love.
There's a clock, there's map, there's framed images of probably older people that may be no longer with us. Mm-hmm. Memories, right?
Yeah.
I actually just framed one of my son's paintings. He came through the kitchen this morning and he's like, Mama, how much would you pay for this? And I'm like, I don't know, a couple bucks, buddy. I go, but way more if it was framed. And so while he was at school, I popped into the store and bought him a frame and it's framed now on the counter. So now it looks like it's worth a lot more.
A lot more money. Oh, I love it.
Okay, so you're in an interesting space. I love it. Obviously needed. And why I brought you onto the show is because you and I met in person very quickly I was only there for a day for a Soul Sister retreat back in May. So this was, right, we're September now. And I really found the work that you're doing is extremely important, both from the perspective of like how to avoid getting a divorce, how to go through the divorce, but also how this all reflects in business and business partnerships, because the same principles apply. Some quick questions, then we'll dive in. Where are you from?
I was born and raised right here in Kelowna, BC. I moved away after high school and went to university in Victoria and did some stuff and moved to Bermuda and, did the things. And 10 years later, I was back in Kelowna. So
nobody's ever from here. That's weird. You're weird.
I was born here, but I'm lucky. Ah. I feel so good.
I know. It is so beautiful here. I love Kelowna. What was one of the toughest moments you had to experience as an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's not just one moment. It's the ongoing, like that self-doubt that I think we all have creep in every now and then, where we have like those little voices in our head. It's the fear, right? That comes in and you almost feel it's, I guess, imposter syndrome every now and then that comes up. But I think that this has also been a gift. I guess I see everything in life this way, that when the bad things happen, like if we can shift our perspective a bit, you can turn it into a positive. Because I think it always is just raising my awareness to like, no, I can do this. I got this. Yeah. And finding solutions to work my way through it. So I think that's entrepreneurship and business. It's scary because it's up to you.
It's true. Huh?
Right? But the reward is 1,000 times more exciting when you have success, right? So it's totally worth it.
And so you've obviously created habits to get through those moments of imposter syndrome. What are some of those?
I've created a really strong routine around meditation. I call it tuning in, and just really raising my awareness to what I'm noticing in my body, what I'm feeling, and what it's really about. So that rather than just constantly reacting to things in life, and I spent so many years of my life living that way, very reactive, very high anxiety, very insecure. And I found that the more aware I've become and the more I've just owned my emotions around fear and recognize what it actually is about and kind of decided to lean into that more. I've just boosted my confidence and really figured out who I am, what really fills me up that much more. And so it's been powerful in business. It's been powerful in relationship and just, like I say, confidence building.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's the thing is like anybody I talk to about imposter syndrome. I mean, there's so many stories and nuances to trying to understand it too, is that based on like childhood experiences or lived experiences. But for the most part, it's all wrapped up in this thing called fear.
Yeah.
And fear, especially for female entrepreneurs, is often found in the ideology that we fear succeeding over failing. It's easy to just say, I'm going to go a little bit because then if I fail, it's not a big failure. But if I go too far, I might succeed. And what does success mean? It means that if I fail, it's a colossal failure. And so we're so afraid of being successful that we stop ourselves.
What just came up for me with that is, and we were talking about this before the show, how business and relationships are so like all of these things are very, very interconnected because I work with relationships often and it's so similar in relationships. So many of us fear commitment and making the big steps, whether it be marriage or just committing to somebody for long term, or we push away the good ones. And it's so fear-based because the fact is if we commit and step into that real love, then there's so much more to lose if it fails, right? So we kind of push it away a little bit just to protect ourselves.
Yeah. Just like people don't remarry or after, a big heartbreak, they don't want to jump back into a relationship ever because they don't want to go through that again. But let me tell you, it's a heck of a lot easier the second time because now you understand your emotions, you understand how to navigate them and the things that you can do to actually make yourself feel better.
And you've gained such clarity, like, because I'm divorced and I've been there, done that, and I don't want to go there again. I don't want to get divorced again. I didn't get married again to do it a second time. And I didn't take it lightly the first time. But this time, I know what I want. I know what I deserve. I know who I am. I know what fulfills me. And before we married, we were very clear that we each had who we were and does that match and can we make this work? And we really also now invest in our relationship in doing the things. Like I don't just practice what I preach, it's because I know things work, right? And it's so important to me because it's just high on my list of core values is having strong relationship because I get into every aspect of our lives.
And working on yourself. Like I think for my husband and I, what we've done to be successful individuals and as partners and as parents is working on ourselves. I heard somebody say once when his wife got up and left him and he's like, somebody asked him, what do you think was the biggest reason that she left? And then he goes, well, she changed. And it's like, you're supposed to change. You're not supposed to be the same person you are when you're 20 or 30 or 40. You're supposed to be working on yourself all the time.
Exactly.
And it's like
changing. And that's the thing is I want to help like my husband and I grow closer together as we change and morph through time and grow and learn and have that connect us more rather than tear us apart from those changes. And I think it's totally possible if you have those skills to be able to communicate and navigate it properly.
Oh my gosh, communication is key. Oh, it's so key. Yeah. It's like in business partnerships, like pretty much anything you do to guide couples or individuals through a divorce or to avoid getting a divorce is very relevant to running a business if you have a partner.
It's all a relationship, whether it's a business relationship, an intimate relationship, a relationship with your children, your family, they're all relationships, and communication essentially is communication, right? And we're not taught that, majority of us anyways. I wasn't taught that. We're taught how to do math and science and all these other things, but we're not taught the really strong skills of healthy communication and healthy conflict resolution, things that will actually serve us. And I think if we were taught those things and teach our children, like I work with my boys all the time, it's not easy, but once you have the skills to be able to help them learn how to speak of their feelings and how to talk to us first, because then that's going to translate later on in life into their relationships. And I feel like if we were taught that as kids, oh my gosh, our divorce rate wouldn't be over 50% like it is. I think if people could communicate and learn how to talk, you'd be able to solve problems together rather than just throwing in the towel.
Yeah, it's like I'm raising two boys. And one thing that we're adamant about is having them feel like they are in a safe place to tell us how they feel. They can talk about anything because society says boys aren't supposed to have those hurt feelings. They're allowed to be angry. They're allowed to be frustrated, but they can't have their heart broken. They can't be sad because that's too feminine. And now all of a sudden you're raising these kids that are defined by these constructs of being masculine and angry, but not sad and soft. And so now all of a sudden they go into these partnerships, these marriages that don't work because they're not expressing themselves.
Exactly. And I mean, we need to be taught. We need to teach our children these things from the time that they're able to understand, right? And if we could communicate with our children that way and they learn growing up that way, it's going to carry on down generations.
Yes.
I do think that it's going to you would see a dynamic change in everybody's relationships. And again, that also in the workplace. And just, if people could communicate, I really would think that honestly, there's so many changes in the whole world.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So you're writing the book now about this?
Yeah.
Please. Right? How to raise boys to communicate better. I mean, not even just boys, girls too, but like, let's be honest. It all starts at home.
Yeah.
Everything starts at home. And I always talk about this one book. People are like, what's the best parenting book you've ever read? And I was like, honestly, it's called The Importance of Being Little. And my takeaway from the book was how this book is important for anybody that teaches kids as in early childhood education or has children up to the age of like 7, 8, 9, 10, how important it is to have open communication with your children. But the intimacy is like now taken away. They've actually done so many studies that in early childhood education classrooms, the most important thing for a child to feel safe is physical touch. And we're not allowed to touch children anymore. Like right. Holding hands or letting them sit on your lap because they have a boo-boo. They're not allowed to do that anymore. So now all of a sudden, what are you teaching these kids, right? That they can't feel safe. They can't be nurtured. They're not allowed to express themselves because one person did some terrible thing a long time ago or whatever it is. But this book is so profound and it's true. It starts at home. So what you do with your work is important. What I do with my work is important too, but maybe really our legacy is what we're teaching our children.
Exactly. That's the thing too. When I went through my divorce, that is a big thing that went through my mind, right? Was if I'm not okay, they're not okay. And I want to model this for them so that like through the divorce, through my grief, their grief, they could see that it was okay to grieve. And at the same time, it was okay to be happy and to be able then to model what I think healthy relationship looks like and how their dad and I, even though we weren't together anymore, that we could model for them that we are still their parents and there's still a family. It just looks different. And that with my new partner and my new husband, Justin, that we modeling what healthy relationships look like. And all of that, I think it's really important. But what I love about it is it pushes me, it motivates me because I want them to be witness and to see like a shift that maybe they haven't seen anywhere else, right? And that they can grow up and have healthy relationships because I don't know, there's just, to me, it's given me such purpose and such an inspiration to want to do better. And it all really I think when they were born. Of course, we want the best for our kids. But when I got divorced, it really just lit up for me. Like if I'm not okay, they're not okay. And I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to make this okay. As awful as it felt at the time, but it really, really did push me to step up and do things in a way that could be best, not only for me, but for them. So that, not to throw myself under a bus for them, but to be able to rise above so that they too can witness their own strength.
I love that. My next question is in relation to this too. And like, first of all, I want to point out how nowhere in this conversation am I ever, and I know you aren't ever shaming divorce. Like there's no shame. Okay, this is an open, safe place. And we support anybody who feels that they need to do something, stay in a relationship or not, based on what they know is healthy. Tell us, how are you trying to change then the narrative of divorce?
Well, I want exactly how you said it right then, right? Is there's no shame, because that is a huge piece of what came up for me is like, I'm a failure. My parents were married 64 years. They're gone now, but they were such a huge inspiration for me and all the work I do. And I actually talk about that a lot. They made love look easy. And they were just this incredible couple. And so to witness that, I have put marriage and love and commitment very high on a pedestal, right? And so when my husband left me, it felt very shameful. Obviously, I was devastated. I was all the things. It was awful. It was an awful time. But that being said, I can see it through a different lens now. It's been 4.5 years. I always say the same thing. Like, I will never say that I like the way it happened. And no, I don't like how it happened. It hurt a lot. But I do want everybody, and I think everybody should honor what they know they need to do to live their best life and their most authentic life. And if that's what my ex needed to do, then that is the way it is. And so I think that it's, if we allow ourselves to shift our perspective slightly to our circumstances and surrender, which is such a powerful thing no matter what we're discussing. When you're in the present moment, let's just say that's divorce and someone has left you, like that was my situation. If you can surrender to that, what is, because I had no control over it, recognizing where our control is so empowering. And when you realize, okay, this happened, I don't need to feel shame. I didn't do anything wrong. Well, I say that like maybe, I hope I'm sure someone's now going to go, yeah, you did. No, but like, it wasn't my fault. I think that it takes two people to be married, right? And people need to do what they need to do. But I think that there is so much growth and learning and expansion that can come. And if we can shift the narrative to seeing it as an opportunity to start fresh and create your life exactly how you want it, that to me is such a powerful way to look at it, rather than living and getting stuck in the shame and the negativity of divorce. And so often it gets painted that way, right?
Oh, I know. And admittedly, I would say I'm a hypocrite also, because at first I was like, oh, the people that got divorced aren't even trying. And like, what a shameful thing for me to say. I don't know anybody's story. We don't know their journey. I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and this man was talking about grief and how the moment that you can actually nudge yourself on the other side of grieving is when you change from accepting what happened to surrendering.
Yes.
And
I totally agree. And I've experienced it. And that's like, I talk a lot about letting go with clients, whether it be personal growth clients, relationship clients. So many of us are stuck, right? We hold on with a death grip, whether it be to the past, whether it's a person, an incident, a thing, whatever it is. There's usually, all of us have something we can think of right away that we're like having a hard time letting go of. And so much of it is acknowledging it, recognizing, having awareness around it and getting stuck in the past. But the fact is we don't have any power there. We can't change anything that's happened. And so it's when we can recognize that, yes, it happened in grief, whatever it is, it's acknowledging it and feeling it, but then having that surrender to it and recognizing that there's nothing we can do to change it other than deciding the direction we want to go moving forward and choosing our next step. How do we want our life to look? Do we want it to be empowered and joyful and happy? And if we can shift, like if we're talking about divorce, shift the fear of not knowing what's next because we thought we had our whole life planned out ahead of us till the day we die. And all of a sudden it's unknown. And that is scary. Obviously, it's very scary. But at the same time, if we can see it maybe less as scary and more as exciting and go into it with a bit of optimism and going, well, I get a chance to do this exactly how I want it. So how do I want it to look? And you kind of get this opportunity to recreate yourself, your life, your experiences. And so I think when we look at it differently, it doesn't have to be so negative.
I have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and asked them one important question. What was your biggest pain point when first starting your business? The resounding answer was, I didn't know where to start. Now, some of these women have built businesses with several employees and have surpassed the $1 million mark with insane profit margins, but they didn't get there alone. All of them worked with a coach or a mentor who was able to guide them, motivate them, and push them outside their comfort zone. Because launching a business or reaching $1 million in your current company doesn't happen without help and a lot of personal development. That's why I have a one-on-one coaching program to help more women-led businesses grow in line with their values and mission. So if you're a wild woman looking for an experienced entrepreneur to help provide direction, accountability, and light a fire under your butt, then check out my coaching program at wewildwomen.com/coaching. That's wewildwomen.com/coaching. You said we have no power in the past. Mm-hmm. And I love that because what we fear is often the unknown. It is the unknown. Yeah. But our emotions are given to us as a gift, so to speak, based on past experience. So we're like, for me, it's like, oh, I hesitated starting another business because my last one I was successful in, which was great. However, it caused me to work so many hours and miss so many milestones with my kids. So I'm like, ooh, okay, nope, I don't want to do that again. So I'm not going to lean into my business. Mm-hmm. But I learned my lesson already. No, I'm not going to do those stupid busy things that just keep me busy, right? I'm going to do business. So we have no power in the past, right? It's like worrying. What is it? Not Ace Ventura. Oh my God. What a character that lives in Vancouver. Super famous guy. Ryan Reynolds. What was the first movie that he was in? What was it called? He was like in college for like 8 years.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyways, his quote in one of the movies that I've said before on other episodes is, worrying is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere.
Yeah. Isn't it the truth? And that's, to me, it's what we were talking about before with the meditation and tuning in and raising your awareness to what you're feeling in your body. And so often when we start doing that, you realize how much of your time you spend worrying. I call it like the spin. We get into that spin in our minds of thinking about the past, worrying about the future, stressing about things that are completely out of our control. And it's just wasted energy.
Yeah, well, you must deal with a lot of identity issues, with people. Like, who am I to be without this person? Mm-hmm. How do you help people through that?
Well, I think it's about really guiding people into the process of confidence, getting to know who they are, but like a really authentic sense of confidence. Like, it's not about what you look like, what you do, any of those outside things. It's confidence around at the core of who you are, who you were when you were born, and what makes you you, what fulfills you, what lights you up, and what do you need in this lifetime on your own to be happy. And when you really start gaining clarity around that, and also, what do I want? Starting to answer those questions, that's where this really strong sense of self-awareness and self-knowing and identity really becomes strong. And it's so amazing to see. You hear the changes in women's voices. You hear the shifts that they're making in their mindset and able to set really strong boundaries with people. And it's just so beautiful to watch. And that's what lights me up, is watching people step into their power of confidence in a really, like, not about ego, but just about who they really are, and really starting to understand who that person is. Because it's another thing that we were never taught how to do. I don't think most of us. I mean, some of us had some stellar examples, but majority of us, I don't think we're ever taught how to truly love ourselves for who we are. A lot of it, I think we get it confused with like what we weigh, what we look like, all the outside stuff. And yeah, the confidence can be about some of those things in many ways. That's an aspect of it, I suppose. But I think the real unshakable confidence is really about like knowing yourself and just loving and accepting that person, the good, the bad, with the ugly, all of it.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Acceptance. And I feel like when you reach a certain age too, it becomes a lot easier. Like I say, when you turn 40 as a woman, it's the give no F's 40s.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the shedding of I just don't care anymore. I'm not trying to impress anybody because I've done that and it's exhausting. For what? For whom? Right. Mm-hmm. And like now it's like, I know me more than I've ever known myself because I have lived experiences. I have journeys. I have wins and losses and failures and heartbreak. But I have so many successes. And we learn from those things.
I agree. And for me, it was like a really big shift happened through my divorce. I'd like to think it would have happened anyways, but I don't know. But at the same time, that was like a pivotal moment for me. And the years following have been just exponential growth of self-knowing and a confidence that I'm so grateful for now, of just really, really knowing myself.
Oh my gosh. And it's a journey. And I see this in a lot of young people too, and young women. And I was like, good for you. Good for you figuring this out so early and just like not caring what other people think or taking other people's opinions and using it for good. Mm-hmm. Right? If someone's like, oh, by the way, you stink. Well, then you go and shower and you put on deodorant. For the most part, it's like, it's tough and it's a constant journey. Like I said, always be working on yourself. When it comes to divorce, what do you think? And like, even like divorce in terms of, I want to place this as like separation. It could be from in a marriage. Mm-hmm. It could be divorce in an old version of you. It could be divorce in shutting down a business. It could be divorce of your career.
Right.
It's a change. What do you think people fear the most in those times?
I think it's the unknown. It's like all of a sudden what you thought we knew. And I think we all find such comfort. It's human nature, right? But comfort in knowing, comfort in having a plan. And I think as a mother, a lot of us, if any of your listeners out there are mothers, we can all relate to that idea of we like to have the plan, the schedule, the routine, that we got everything lined up, we got the lunches made, all the things, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden there's a shift, and that with divorce, that life that you had planned for yourself is dissolved. So it's this big question mark, and it's scary. But again, it comes back to that mindset of choosing. I think we can really, really, like, I hate the whole thing about choosing your happiness because there are some circumstances that are just plain awful. I get it. But at the same time, there's so many things where divorce can be hard. It can be really negative. There are a lot of negative things about it that if you can still work on your marriage, do it by all means. There are so many things you can do to save a marriage and make it work if you want it to work. That being said, if it is time to end it, to shift your perspective and your mindset and really lean into your own personal power of how you want to feel and choose how you move forward. Because I think it does come down to most of the misery we feel in our lives is around fear.
Yeah. And we get to choose to stay in that or not. It's our decision.
And that's the thing, is the only person we can change is ourselves. We have no power with changing our partner, with changing anybody else in our life. And so if we want to be happy, all of us at some time, we look outside of ourselves to try and find happiness. And I'm not happy because this, or I will be happy when blank. I'll be happy when I meet my dream man. I'll be happy when my relationship gets better. I'll be happy when. But like, you're putting that pressure on that person or this thing to make you happy when it's an inside job and it's totally up to you. And I really do believe so wholeheartedly, because I've experienced it myself. I've witnessed it with clients. When we choose our thoughts, raise our awareness, and start deciding what we want and getting really clear on that, that's when we see shifts happen. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we could have, is about, do you know what you want? So often we want a better life, but we don't know what that is. And you're not going to get anywhere unless you know where you're going. That's another conversation itself. But as far as like creating that life after divorce that you dream of, what is it that you want? What does it look like? And being really, really clear about it is such a super powerful process as well.
Okay, I want to pull up a quote from Alex. He says, figuring out what you really want is the hard part. Getting it is easy.
It's so true. So I use this with clients all the time. I live in a cul-de-sac. Okay. So when I leave in my car, if I don't have a destination or a goal or a dream, I just drive in circles in my cul-de-sac because I don't know where I'm going. I'm just in circles, so I don't go anywhere. Whereas if I know I'm going to the mall, I go there and I get to my destination, my goal, my dream, I've got it, right? But you have to know where you want to go. I want to go to the mall. So it's like with clients, I said, if you don't know what you want, and I don't care how big it is, I have a vision board with some huge goals and dreams, and I've gotten super clear on what I want to feel like, the tangible things I want in my life, all of that, what my business wants, what I want it to look like, where I want to be. You gain that clarity and then you have a destination. So then at least you have a chance of getting there. And then my job is to get step by step by step to take you closer and closer towards reaching that goal. And it's so possible, but you can't do it unless you actually have clarity on what you want. And it's the same in relationships. I ask couples all the time. So they're fighting and they're so miserable and it's just awful. And this is what's happening in our relationship, which is totally valid. And many of us can relate to going through stuff like that. And it's like, okay, so you ask them, what do you need from your partner? What do you want? They're like, well, I don't know. Well, it's like, well, you're not going to get it if you can't tell them what you want, right? So it's the same idea in so many aspects of life, whether it's our personal growth and getting what we want out of our life, or it's what we want out of our relationship or our job, to have really strong clarity over exactly what that is and really specifically what it is that you want. And then the second part of that, at least in relationships, is being able to communicate it.
So how do you go and find that clarity? Do you think most people know what it is? What are some things they can do to just go find what it is?
That I always come back to, that I use with myself all the time and that I ask clients, what lights you up? What gives you energy? So for example, for me, okay, here's one that's really relevant because we were just in Denver and I did some shopping. I love fashion. I love clothes. I go into certain stores and my heart rate goes up. There's other people, right, that hate that stuff. They don't want to shop. But for me, that is such a part of who I am. I've been that person since I was little. I love running in the woods. When I get out in the woods and I'm running or walking my dog, I just love that, right? So finding those things, and in your relationship, when you're with your partner, what are the things that you're doing when it feels so good and you feel happy and energetic and your memories are surrounded? What is that? Starting to pay attention to those things, because I think conversely, what drains you or who drains you, that is a lot easier to a lot of people okay, well, this person, every time I'm around this person, I feel sucked dry, or every time I have to go, whatever it might be, I just don't feel good about it. I dread it, those kind of things. And there's some of those that are unavoidable. I'm not suggesting everyone just goes and quits their jobs, but maybe that's a sign that it's time to start thinking about a new career, or how could we change it to make it feel better, and starting to throw more of the things that light you up into your life and really being conscious about creating more of that joy and more of that energy in your life with purpose.
I've started The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron 4.5 weeks ago. And part of what I have to do is do morning pages. So this is conscious stream of thought for 3 pages. And there's some days where I'm I need to change the light bulb in my bathroom, to the other extreme where it's you just write that comes to your mind to things about parenting and then things about my business. So it's just crazy. And what she says in the book is she says, don't go back in those pages to reread them. I like to break rules. And so I go back. And part of why I needed to go back was because I knew that there was this subconscious theme and 3 things that kept coming up in those pages. And I was oh, there it is, there it is, there it is. And it's it's right there. Okay, now I know this because I wrote it down for the past 3 weeks every day. What am I going to do to change this so it's not an issue anymore? And so now I'm working on that. And it's just almost I've unlocked another level. It's here I go, 10,000 bonus points, get your gold coins, next level.
Action. Yeah. That's huge. I think taking action, we can talk about our problems and talk about what we want or how we wish things were. And we can stay in those cycles forever, right? And it's when we actually go and take that step and take action to actually make the shift. So awesome.
Yes, it is. Like he said, Alex Hormozi says, it's figuring out what you want is the hard part, but getting it is easy. So, okay, one last question for you. When I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that for you?
The first thing that comes to my mind is courageous. And just really, I've got it tattooed on my arm. Courage. I think being a wild woman is stepping into really your confidence, knowing who you are and going for it, just being fearless.
Love it. So if people want to find you online, where can they go?
Instagram is the best place because I'm on there most often, but at the Jaime Morgan. Or my Facebook. I have a free Facebook group and it's, oh my gosh, the Abundant Mindset. I almost forgot it. It's called the Abundant Mindset. So that is a great place too. I do all my guided meditations on there and you just will get a lot of me and what really my coaching is about. And like I say, doing the mindset work and the tuning in meditations.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an amazing, amazing conversation.
Oh, I love talking to you. I hope we get to chat again soon.
So there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Into the Wild. To make this girl happy and to help reach other women who are dreaming of starting their business, please leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and everywhere you listen in. Also, if you want to find me in the wild, check me out on Instagram at Renee_Warren. That's RENEE_WARREN. And leaving you with one of my favorite tips of all time. The best advice you could ever receive is from someone who has successfully done it before you. Until next time, ladies, peace out.